Okay, so we're going to be drawing boxes, kind of using an additive method. We draw one box. That box informs us of the neighbor box, and then we build the still life that way. This isn't the only way to draw a still life, but it's certainly one way that I want to share with you as an option for how you do this site measuring, especially as a beginner, right? So, all right. So the first box I'm going to draw is one that's sitting on the table here. It's not up high. It's sitting down on the table, and I'm going to analyze that box by using this stick to help me. And I'm going to determine what size that box should be on this piece of paper so that I feel like I'll be able to have enough room for how the still life is going to expand on the paper. Okay? All right. So that box, it happens to be kind of like in the middle, right? And so I'm going to draw it in the middle. If I measure the height of that box, if I were to measure the height of that box and stack it 3 times, I think that would give me enough room to go upward on the still life. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, look, if this is where the base, the lowest point on that box, if that's the lowest point that it's going to be at, I want to make sure that I can fit 3 of them here. So 1, 2, yeah, okay, so it's about like this. All right. So that is going to be the highest point of that box. All right, so I have control of the size of these boxes. What I don't have control of is the proportion. I have to get the proportion correct. And the box this size, okay? All right, so I need to determine how wide this box is on one of its planes in comparison to its height. All right. I'm going to measure the width first because it's a smaller measurement than the height. And the width is a little bit more than half of the height. All right. So if this is the height that I determined, the width is, there would be halfway right there. The width is a little more than half of the height. So I'm going to, and it's going to be in the middle here. So here, here, that's how wide the box is going to be. All right, I'm going to check that again. The width is a little bit taller, a little bit more than half. Like that. You see how I just made a slight adjustment there? I don't know if you saw that. I'm trying to draw a little bit dark here, but we'll see. All right, so now I know the front corner is right here, and I'm going to draw a line representing the front corner coming down. That's the front corner of the box. This is the lowest point on the box. And this is the right edge of the box. Now this box is tilted into the space slightly. All right, so I need to find what that tilt is. The most effective way to do that is to hold my stick horizontal at my station point and ask myself, how much is that angle tilting from this front corner right here? Is tilting, for one, is it tilting up or is it tilting down? Okay? is tilting slightly up, just slightly, okay? So this is level, and this is just slightly. Oh. Hold my stick a little better here. Okay? Just slightly. Now later, when we talk about perspective, we're going to talk about why that is exactly. Why is it tilting this way versus that way? Right now, we just need to measure and ask ourselves the right questions so that we can get an accurate drawing. All right. Now the left edge of the box, okay, there's a space between the front edge and the left edge over here. I need to ask myself, how much space is there from the front edge to the left edge? How much space is there in comparison to the front plane? Okay? So what I can do is I can hold my stick like this, and I can move my stick over and just keep asking myself, is it right here? Is it right here? Is it over here? I think it's about right there. And I'm going to put a light sort of tentative line there. All right. But the other way that I can do this is I can measure with the stick that small measurement there. And I'm measuring the left, the distance between the left edge and the front edge. And then I'm going to ask myself, how many of that space fits in the front of the box? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I take the front of the box and I divide it by 4, there's 2, there's 4, and I take this measurement and I put it over here, then I have where the left edge is supposed to be. Okay? The next thing I want to ask myself is, where is this back corner on the left edge? Where is that back corner? Instead of just going like this and drawing an angle very quickly, I need to ask myself the right question here. I already have this corner and I have this corner. Okay? What I can do is I can come across from this corner here on the right side, and if I draw a light line from that corner, now I have something to compare. If I hold my stick toward the still life horizontally, and I align it with the back left edge corner, I'm going to ask myself, is that corner higher or lower than the right edge corner? All right? Is it higher or lower? It's higher. It's higher. And if I look at this side right here, it's higher by about that much. You see, that much in comparison to the hole. So I'm going to draw a line across here very lightly. And then I'm going to connect the front corner to the back left corner. Okay? So it's much, I think it's much more rational to draw a box where you draw the vertical sides first, and you use those to determine the angles that the box is sitting, since it's kind of tilted. All right, those would be the horizontal. Okay. All right, so now I've got this, well here, I've got this corner here. And I need to ask myself about the top of this box. Now this is tricky. The top of boxes always seems to trick us, you know, because we always think that we can see more of the top than we can. Okay? And this is always dependent on your station point, how tall the box is relative to your station point. But if I were a bit shorter, that would change my station point, and I would be able to see then less of the top of the box. Okay? If I were taller, I could see more of the top of the box. For some reason, we like to think that we can see more than we can. And we tend to draw the top of the box tilted upward. Okay? So be careful about that. So what I want to show you is how to really look at this to get it more accurate. Again, I'm going to hold my stick horizontally, and I'm going to ask myself, how does it compare to the horizon line here, or the horizontal orientation of this stick from my station point? And I can see that from this corner right here, it's just ever so slightly tilting downward, just slightly. Even less than this one. Okay? You can never assume that it's the same angle as this one, because as you get closer and closer to the center, or higher and higher, that angle is going to shift. Even though we know that the base of this box is parallel to the top edge of that box. That's what we know about this box as a structure there sitting in front of us. But when we use this measuring stick, it tells us something different, because we're having to reconcile what we know about that box with this flat sheet of paper. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. All right, I'll try to make it a little bit darker. Okay, I'm also going to make my supporting lines. That's what I call them. The lines that I draw across to make comparisons. I'm going to draw those relatively dark too, just so that you guys can see a little bit better. Just let me know if you can see that a little bit better. All right, so now I need to draw the rest of this top of this box. I need to make sure that this edge here is extended vertically, a little bit taller. And I need to find the angle from this corner to the back edge there. Now, in order to do that, rather than just taking this angle and stacking it up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the front edge of this box to the back edge of this box. And I'm going to compare that measurement, all right, with the depth on the side of the box. All right, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm measuring from the front edge to the back edge here with my stick. I'm going to turn that horizontally, and I'm going to compare it with the side plane of the box. And it's a little bit more than half it's more like 2/3. So this side here is 2/3 of the top. Yeah. So that's 2/3. That's 1, 2, 3. Okay, Okay, I've broken this down into thirds. 1 here, 2, 3. Okay. And there's the back edge. All right, now the back edge, like the front edge, is just slightly tilted. Okay. Now I can connect this corner with the corner there. And don't assume that this edge is parallel to that one in your drawing. All right, now, the reason I say in your drawing is because your drawing is different than what you know about that box. This drawing is on a flat surface. This box in this room with us is in a three-dimensional space. We're having to reconcile that with this flat surface. What we know about this box is that this edge is parallel with this edge. But in this drawing, because of linear perspective, that's not what it appears to tell us when we look at this thing. All right. So what I can do is I can measure I can go over here and I can measure on the box from this left corner over to the right corner, and I can compare how long the back of that box is with how long the front of the box is. And you're going to say, well, they're the same, right? Because it's a cubic form. But from my station point, they're not. The reason why they're not is because the back edge of the box is farther away, just slightly, than the front edge of the box. Okay? If you had two sedan vehicles in a parking lot, and one of them was closer to you, and the other one was on the other side of the parking lot, the one that's farther away, that would be much smaller. Would appear, I want to be specific, it would appear much smaller. Would it actually be much smaller? No. It appears much smaller. And so that's what we're having to reconcile in our drawing. All right. So this is the width, that back edge. And when I bring it forward to the front, and again, I'm keeping my arm, my elbow locked here. I'm not doing this. Don't do this. Okay? I'm keeping my elbow locked there. And I'm comparing, it's a little bit less. So if this is the front edge, it's about right here. A little bit less. So it's this much. Now I can draw an angle. Okay? All right, so now we have one box there. The first box is going to be more challenging to draw because you don't have anything to reference it against on this initially blank piece of paper. Now that we have this box, though, it's going to make it much easier for us to draw the rest of the boxes. Okay? All right. All right. So I'm satisfied with how this box looks right now. I am going to just put one more supporting line on the top here. Well, my pencil lead broke. That line right there communicates to the viewer that this top edge on the box is tilted from a horizontal reference. Okay? Again, I really need you to communicate what you're observing as a result of your sight measuring with your stick. All right. It's turned off for some reason. I turned it back on. So that lower corner there, if I hold my stick horizontal, that corner, on the right side, Etnies box, is precisely the same level as the right corner on the white box. Right here. Okay? And then the angle of the Etnies box going back toward the white box, well, it's this much tilt. But I can ask myself, oh, actually, I can compare it with this corner right here. If I bring this corner, I already have it horizontally coming across here. It's the same. So if I use this as a reference, and I connect here, you see that? So this edge here disappears behind the white box precisely at the same height as that back corner. And that's how I'm going to get the tilt. All right. I know the height here. I can measure the height here. Well, let's do that. Let's check the width of the Etnies box to help us get the height. It's this wide. And if I stack it from the corner, 1, almost 2. 1, there's 2, it's almost 2. Draw angle from it. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay? So every time I want to draw a line, I want to ask myself questions. And I just want you guys to be aware of the kind of questions you're asking yourself to get an accurate result. I'm going to draw the white box that's behind this front, this white wooden box. There's a white box behind there. Well, actually I can finish the Etnies box. It has some depth here. It has some depth. So I can compare that depth here with something else. And I've got, it's this much here. If I compare it to the width of the front of this white wooden box, that depth is it's a little more than 1/3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a little more than 1/3 on the front of that box. So there it is. There's the side. Okay. And then from this corner back to this corner, I need to figure out where this back corner is here. So I'm going to hold my stick horizontal like this and ask myself, how high is that point relative to the other box? It's slightly higher, just slightly higher than this corner. Right here. Okay? And then I've got the depth on this side here. I gotta ask myself, is this corner here higher or lower than this left corner here? Wow, when I hold this horizontal, they really appear to be the same height across. Okay? All right, now the back corner. Along this front edge here, I can ask myself, where is that back corner relative to this front edge? Where is that back corner? back corner looks like it's about 1/3 of the way over. Yeah. So if I subdivide this into thirds, well, that's not thirds. 1, 2, 3. 1/3 of the way over is what that back edge is. All right, now how tall is that? From the front corner to the back corner? It's a small measurement. But I have another small measurement that I can compare it to over here. And it's the same as that measurement. So the width of this side here is the same as the height from the front edge, to the back corner. I hope you're following me on this. So now I have the back corner. Sorry about that. And then I have the back edge. Okay? All right, so now I can draw the white box that's kind of tucked behind there. And the white box is coming out of the Etnies box just below the back corner of the Etnies box, right here. And you see how I put points? I really want you to do that. When you see something connecting somewhere else, put a point there. That white box in the middle there, the front edge of that box is just, it's kind of getting maybe closer to my eyelid. And so it's just slightly tilting. That plane is just slightly tilting. So if this is horizontal, it's just slightly tilting away from horizontal. And it's just slightly downward. Now the front corner of that white box relates to the smaller white wooden box in such that the front edge connects precisely halfway along the back edge of the other box. So it's right here. Okay? All right. The back edge of the white box on the left here has a little bit of space there. Okay? But what I can see is that if I compare it to the front plane of the front box here, that edge is slightly to the right of the front edge, of this box. So the back edge of the white box there is slightly to the right of the front edge of this box. Just slightly. So, it didn't take me very long to draw that box behind there because I already had these other two. So once you have more and more comparisons to make for lines and objects to reference, each additional box will likely take you less and less time, effort. All right. I'm going to go ahead and draw it's kind of a grayish shoebox sitting on top of the white box. And I can see that it's slightly tilted at a different angle to the white box. And I can see inside the opening of the white box just slightly. And that edge is going to go back to a point right here, just over a little bit. And then the gray box is going to intersect that point, and it's going to come across, and it's going to go slightly behind the Etnies box along the top back corner of the Etnies box. You see how I'm trying to talk through the observations that I'm making as clearly as I can come up with a way to communicate to you what I'm seeing. And I really think you need to have that same rigor in your mind when you're carrying out your drawing. You really need to be asking yourselves these questions. All right. Now I got to figure out how wide, how far over the right side of the gray shoebox is. And I can compare it to the Etnies box. So if I hold my stick here and I move this stick over just a little bit, I can ask myself, how far do I need to move it over to where I get to the right edge of the gray box? This much. Okay? It's not much. How tall is this box? Well, now I've got these other boxes to compare. So, let's see here. The gray box is a little bit less than the height of this space between the white wooden box and the white cardboard box. And I'm going to check that one more time. That much? That much. All right, the top edge of the gray shoebox, if I hold my stick horizontal, it's very close to horizontal, very close, but it's just slightly tilting, just slightly tilting a little bit that way. It's really incredible how we can sense when something is level or when something is balanced. Humans have a really sort of keen sense of what is level. It's, you know, my wife particularly, because if you have a picture on a wall and it's not level, she'll let you know. All right, so the right side of this shoebox, or right edge, I can compare that edge with the edge on the wooden box here. And they are the same. All right, I think it would be a good time now to go over to the left side here and draw it's a Nike box there. There's a little bit of a gap here between the gray shoebox and the Nike shoebox. There's just a little bit of a gap. Because I have all these measurements to reference, I should be able to see that gap quite easily, and it's just that much. And the Nike box is almost the same height as the gray shoebox. It's just slightly less than. Okay. The front corner of the Nike box, if I'm measuring from the back, the right edge to the front corner, I get this much, and I'm going to compare it to something else. It's almost the same as the measurement of the front plane of this white box. Almost the same. And that, to me, is a bit strange. Because I know, standing here, being able to move around and look at these boxes, I know that that Nike box is wider than this white box. But when I have to reconcile that with this flat piece of paper, the Nike box is further back and it's tilted more into the space, which means that in this drawing on this flat surface, it doesn't appear to be wider than the white box. All right, now the top corner of the Nike box here, top front corner, seems like a good place to go next. Because I can ask myself, along this edge on the gray box, how high is that top corner? It's 1/4 from the top to the bottom of the gray box. So if that's half, that's 1/4. I bring this over. There's the top front corner of the Nike box. And now I can connect the side. Okay. Make sure this camera's still going. All right. The bottom corner of the Nike box, bottom front corner, I can compare with this white box here by going like this. How high is that corner relative to this edge here? Looks like it's also 1/4. It's pretty close to 1/4 of the height of this one. So if I cut this one in half, and then half again, that's 1/4 of the hole. I bring this over, and that is the bottom front corner of the Nike box. The bottom back corner of the Nike box, if I compare it to this white wooden box, is just slightly lower in this front corner, just slightly lower. You know, one of the most common measurements that I make is slightly less than, slightly more than, you know, almost the same. Okay? Those are really important measurements. I don't need to say like 1/8 or 1/16 or 5/8 or 7/8 or, you know, 3/4, 1/3, 2/3, half, you know, 1/4. These are the kind of proportions you want to use. When you get smaller than that, it's really slightly less than or slightly more than. Okay. All right, so now I can make that angle there. Darken this edge. All right, now in the previous demo where I was talking about the cylinder, I don't quite remember how it came up, but it was the edge. The table had a seam in it, and we talked about how to get that angle. We used the clock as a reference. What time is that angle? And that is helpful, okay? That is helpful. But in this drawing that you'll do here, I don't want you to rely on the clock that much to make the angle. All right. I think it will be much more Okay, and then this edge is disappearing behind the white box. Not quite 1/3 of the way up. Okay. Back edge of the donut box. It's really not that far back there. It's just right here. If I compare it to this space here, even less. It's like right here. Compare this space to that space. Okay. Now the side of that box, it has a flap. And the flap is angled downward from here. That angle looks like that. Now that's one way I can use the clock, or I could again use another measurement that I already have. Right. So if I take the measurement on the side of this box here and I bring it over here, and then down, that intersection is where the flap terminates. All right. And the corner, if I compare it with these other corners, corner of that flap is just slightly above halfway of this white box. So it's right here. So the angle that I made there, just sort of guessing, was close, but it wasn't as accurate as carrying this measurement over. Okay, the corner here, the corner of that flap, that's a little tricky, but I can ask myself, along this Nike box, if I was to just move over slightly to the right, that corner falls along that edge. And the height of that corner relative to this corner is just slightly higher. Slightly higher. It's right there. Now I can connect. Okay, and then it comes up at an angle to where it almost touches the front corner, and then it changes direction. See that? And then the left edge, bottom edge of the box goes and disappears behind this flap, right here. Okay. Top edge of the Nike box, well, this corner here is slightly higher than the right corner. Now I can draw the angle. Back corner is really, actually quite difficult to see, but it intersects the front plane of the Nike box about 1/4 of the way over the width of its front. So it's back here, and the height of that corner is the same as the height of the gray shoebox. Right here. Your still life is going to look different than mine. Similar, because hopefully you're using boxes of a similar size. You're drawing about the same amount of boxes. But they're all going to be, in your own way. And your problem with measuring is going to be different than mine, but the method should be the same. That's really important. All right, the edge here is coming through. The donut box is coming through from the Nike box to the white box. it's tilting downward. If I look at this corner, that edge is just slightly above that corner. And then I can draw the angle. Okay. You don't actually have to know very much about perspective, linear perspective that is, to get a successful drawing. Sight measuring will, if it's done accurately, all of the linear perspective that we associate with accurate drawings will just fall into place. It just falls into place. So we're going to talk about linear perspective later, more formally. But if you do accurate sight measuring, linear perspective will just fall into place. All right. Now I've got two more boxes. There's a box inside the shoebox here. And the front edge of that box is slightly to the left of the white box that's in the middle. Okay, and then the back edge is between here and here, is right there. And then the angle of this gray box going back, I want to measure the height from this point to the back where the gray shoebox is disappearing right here. I want to measure the height of that and compare it to something else. I don't want to just draw an angle. All right. It's kind of a small measurement, but I have another small measurement I can compare it with, and there it is. It's just about the same as the depth of this white box. All right. Now I can get the angle. The height of this box here is this much, and I'm going to compare that measurement. I'm looking for something else that it relates to, and it's the same as a donut box. From the donut box to the white box is the same as the height there. When you do a measurement and you compare, you make sure that you keep your comparisons in the still life. Okay? You don't do a comparison and then bring it in somehow to your drawing before you check it on the still life. Donut box and the other box. And I'm comparing them in the still life. My elbow is locked. Horizontal, vertical. I take my understanding, my knowledge of that comparative measurement, and I bring that knowledge into the drawing. Okay? That's really important. All right. I already got the height, and the back corner is just slightly higher than the front corner. And then I can get the angle. Okay. The front width of that box is, well, if I go directly vertical from the Etnies box, it's right there. And the front edge of this box, I can see the top just a little bit, and the front edge of that box is just tilting upward from this corner, just slightly. The back corner of that box, relative to this width here, the back corner is right there. Yeah, it's less than half. It's less than halfway across here. That's half, less than half. Okay, and then the back corner is just slightly higher than this corner right here. So just slightly higher, right there. Now I have the angle. Okay, don't guess on your angles. always have some rational way to describe and indicate where an angle is. All right. Now one more box here. The base of that box is just slightly above the front edge of the gray shoe box, and then it's intersecting the top edge just slightly above right here. It's coming out there, and then the front corner is slightly to the right of the gray shoe box. Actually, the top edge of the shoe box is going back slightly that way. Okay, now I can go vertical here. There's a crease that indicates where the flap opening is bending toward me. That crease is slightly below the top corner of the box next to it. The flap is tilting toward me. If I hold my stick vertically, I can see that it's tilting slightly to the left. And the same here, slightly to the left. And then the flap on the leftmost side from this point is tilting even more so. The height, the ultimate height here of the still life, I'm going to go ahead and measure from this top edge to that corner. Take this measurement and I'm going to compare it to something else I already have. Trying to find something that it relates to. It's not actually that easy to find it. Let's try another way. I'm going to measure from this seam to the top and compare that to something. That's better. That measurement is almost the same height as the donut box. And you see I just barely had enough space. And it's at my eye level. I just barely had enough space to fit everything here in this still life. That angle of the flap comes back. There. Okay, the back, the very backmost flap, it's just slightly lower than the front one. It's coming out. It's coming out how much? Well, from this front corner, it's coming out. Less than the width of this box. It's coming out. Not much. And it's almost vertical. Not quite. It's just almost vertical. Okay, the side flap here is coming at an angle this way. I think I'm going to go ahead and use this to help me get the rightmost side. The corner, the back right corner is slightly higher than the front corner, and it is the same as this corner horizontally all the way across. So I'm going to use the straight edge here. If I come from this corner right here, and I come all the way across, horizontally or level, that gets me to the back right corner. Okay. The flap, the remaining flap is coming out at an angle here. Instead of using the clock to guess that angle, I can ask myself, along this edge, how high up does it intersect? And it's right here. It's this proportion on the whole. Okay, and it comes out that far, but I can compare that with the Etnies box. It's a little less than the right edge of the Etnies box, so it's about right here. It comes out right there. And then it changes the angle. Changes the angle. And it goes, well, if I hold my stick horizontally, that's really strange, but it's there. It's horizontal. Okay? Now I'm going to lighten this line because I don't want it to be confusing. Get my eraser here. I'm just going to lighten this line here. And the darker line is going to indicate the edge of the flap. All right. And then I'm going to measure how wide this flap is. This much, which in comparison to something else, okay. If I take that measurement here and I compare it to the depth of the Etnies box, it's about the same. The Etnies box, here it's about the same. Right, now this is going to be coming at an angle down to this intersection here. But I need to ask myself about this point. Is this point higher or lower or the same as this point here? Is it higher or lower or the same? Slightly higher. And then I can draw the angle. Okay, now at this point, I have all of the boxes there. I can indicate the back edge of the table. It's coming out right here, and it's horizontal. Your table edge might not be horizontal. It's coming out on the other side. Okay. I could go and add some details, like this Etnies box has, you know, a flap, a lid, rather. That goes around. But those details aren't really that important right now. The overall relationship of the objects to each other, the site measuring, the communication of this objective of site measuring in relation to your still life, that's more important. I don't need to draw, you know, the Etnies logo. You know, if you want to take some time and draw that accurately, you're welcome to do that. But I don't want you to spend more time doing that than actually getting the box accurately in proportion to the other boxes. Okay? So there you have it. This is what I'm asking you to do for your exercise.